Okay. So without that, anybody can do that. So this is saying so this is required. And so if you assign that now he says
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So this will be a quick class, maybe like 30 minutes or so. I'll try to wrap this up as quickly as possible so that you guys can work on your projects. Okay. But no problem. I mean, it's definitely not going to go up to 9:30, but I'm going to try to see if I can wrap this up quickly. So the question that you see was for the office hours. Raymond solved it. Thank you very much, Raymond. This is actually from Lead Code. Again, we're kind of trending towards a little bit more difficult questions. Actually, questions that have been asked, and this is one of them. I'm going to keep posting some questions, and for those of you who are interested, please give it a try. Again, all of this can be solved with simple for loops and if statement. That's all you need. There's no complicated. There's no JavaScript function that you need to actually remember. Raymond solved it with 2 for loops and 1 variable. Right? That's it. It's the thing over here is how to come to that conclusion. That's the difficult part. Coding wise, it's literally 2 for loops and 1 state. And most of the questions that I'm posting are require only those 3 statements and arrays. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our today's class. All right. So how are the projects going from Saturday? You guys start working on it? Yes. Yes. Just one group? Okay. Progressing okay or still kind of not sure what's going on? Not sure what's going on? Okay. So here's today what I will do is I will show you some project management techniques. What these the aim for these techniques is to kind of keep you guys on track if you guys use it. Okay. Again, there's no like a grading or anything that you have to use these techniques, but I'm still going to show you. Quite few groups use it, and I can assure you that this definitely helps making sure that your project is flowing and the tasks are being completed. Okay, and the techniques that you will see over here are actually used out there in the industry. These are coming from there. Okay, I use these daily in my work life, right? It's they have different softwares for it, but the technique is still the same. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, and even if you don't follow, please keep note of these abbreviations, these words that I'm saying, because these are, again, as I said, these are used widely in the software engineering world in the industry. So if somebody asks you in the interview or you kind of come to face about one of these techniques, you at least know what they actually mean. Okay. But recommended, try to see if you can use this in the project. It will definitely help you. I'll go through it and you will see that it should help you in your projects. Okay. So these are more project management techniques. The first thing I want to highlight is MVP. I don't know, maybe you guys must have heard it. If not, what is MVP? Other than it's not most valuable player, it's a different when it comes to engineering. Josh, do you have any idea? You probably don't. MVP? Anybody? Yes. Yeah, I was going to come to you next. I was like, either Josh. So this is where the project managers kind of help. Yes, it's called, as Erlise is saying, it's called minimum viable product. What does that mean, Erlise? You guys hear that? The most basic version of a product. Okay? Okay? What is it? That works. That works from start to finish. Okay? If you are, for example, if you are building a car, if you're given a task to build a car, The MVP is something that has 4 wheels and runs, not a Ferrari. Ferrari is not considered an MVP. Okay? Again, so in your projects, what you are doing is in 2 weeks, you can only come up with some things. Okay? Um, these are the 4 questions that you need to answer to determine what's going to be the MVP of your project. Okay? For example, let's suppose we are making our project. I think the example, I don't know if I see the example. Oh, yeah. If you're making an Instagram app. Okay? Now, the MVP for Instagram would be that I, as a user, should be able to upload pictures. Okay, I, as a user, should be able to share the pictures, and I, as a user, should be able to view the pictures. Right? These are the 3 things that Instagram does. Everything else is not MVP. It's all fluff around it and everything. But basically, these are the 3 things that the project does. Okay, so that would be considered as MVP. All right. Now, whatever your project is, what you have to understand is, okay, I have limited time. What is so you have a theme of your project. Okay, so from that theme you need to determine what is the basic functionality that we need to do as a group that will showcase our product. Okay, as I said, Instagram, right? The only thing as an MVP for Instagram would be able to upload pictures, able to view pictures, and able to share pictures. That's it. Okay, so think of MVP as if you have a product and you are looking for investors, right? They don't have time, they give you like 15 minutes or so, right? So your MVP would be that you can showcase something to the investors to get their interest, and that's it. Okay, not a fully working product that you will spend months and years in it, a basic thing that can convey the idea. Okay, that's what's considered MVP. And in this 2 weeks, that's what you guys are targeting. Okay, once you are done with your MVP, right now you have like 10 days that's supposed to complete the project, and by some miracle in 15 days you are done with your MVP. Okay, that's when it comes some of the bonus parts. Okay, I'm done with this. It tells the class, it tells us that what my product is. Now I can go ahead and add few more things to it. Okay, so that's what MVP, and that's the target that you should be looking forward to. Okay, some of the questions are over here to help you guys. Who is your target audience? What is a problem that the product is trying to solve? Okay, the goal, and then you will identify a task, and I'll come to the what is user stories in a minute. Okay, does everybody understand MVP? Is it possible if I give you like 5 minutes? Can you guys? You don't have to announce or tell, but among you guys, can you come up with an MVP? What your product is doing? Just few basic. Just take 5 minutes and discuss. Write it down maybe, and what your MVP is.
And then this will be, no, not yet. I don't think you approved it yet. I can't approve it yet. But yeah, it's like, I think that with like the bar and everything, so it's bar being like a really cool like spotlight. Yeah. It looks so good. Yeah, I could change the opacity on it. I think you could put like a filter on it, make it darker if you want it darker. Yeah. He was talking about colors. That guy looked like this.
All right. Does every group has a fair idea what MVP looks like to them? Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one. So now you have an idea what what you can achieve minimum viable product that would kind of address your goal or your product, right? Without going into too much details. The next part is how do you divide that product into tasks? Okay. For that, we have something called user stories. Or at least, do you know user stories?
As in like a persona type?
Persona, yeah. But what? Keep going. What else?
So like, I'm not. We usually use personas as in like the journey of the user.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you basically create personas of like different users.
Right.
And then you map out their journey and what they're looking for
Mm-hmm.
on the website.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And I'll come back to the persona part. So user stories are tasks from the perspective of the user of your product. Okay. For example, if I'm making an Instagram app from the user perspective, I want to come up with tasks what the user is going to do, what the user is looking for. For example, some of the tasks listed are as a user, I want to post pictures so that I can share my life. Okay, so that's what we call a user story. Okay, it's a task from the perspective of a user of your product, right? And the template is as a user, I want and then to do something. Okay, and then the reason. So that and then something. This is always the template when you're trying to create user stories. Okay, user stories then translate into the task that your team is going to work on. For example, if it says over as a user, I want to be able to post pictures so that I can share my life, right? This would be your user story of your product, and then you are going to work on it. Say, okay, what will it take to accomplish the first user story, right? You will have to create an image box a button so that they can browse to the computer, upload a picture. Once they select a picture, then you want to take that picture, convert into binary, and then store it at some data store. Okay, so that's what's going to take to accomplish the first story. Okay, the second one, for example, as a user, I want to be able to search other users' images. Now, what will this take? Probably you need a search box, right? And somebody types in the username for the images that I'm trying to search for, and then a button which says search, so that you click, and then the query goes to your data store, brings those images, and then shows it on your website. Okay. Now, Earlies was talking about personas. You see, as a user, this is a person, okay, or a persona. Now, it can be a user. Let's suppose on Saturday, what we did, we created our GitHub repository, right? And then we did our initial template, like a detailed plan, what we are going to do, right? What's going to be the user story for those? It cannot be a user because nobody is going to create a GitHub from the user perspective. The person who's going to be using your product, are they going to create a GitHub repository? No. So the persona over here will change from user to as a developer, right? Usually you will see a couple of general personas. User would be one. Developer could be a team lead persona, but usually these two are kind of bundled together. So what's going to be my user story is going to be, as a developer, I want to create a GitHub repository so that I can share that with my team members so that they can start uploading code. Okay, now that's going to be a user story and a task. Now what's going to take to accomplish that? You're going to go to GitHub, you're going to create a repository, then go to contributors, add everybody on your team as a contributor, right? That's going to be your task. Now you want to create a detailed plan or a proposal, project proposal. So as a team member, as a developer, I want to create a project proposal so that I can convey the goal of my project. Okay, so the user stories are the tasks that you're going to accomplish that will keep track what your team is working on and what you need to do to accomplish this product. Okay, it can be as high level as this or as detailed you want to go in. For example, let's suppose for this one, you want to say, as a developer, I want to create create a search page. For the second one, I want to create a search.html page so that users can put in the search term, right? Now, what does it take? You're going to code your search page.html. You're going to add a button, input box, and then add some validations. Okay. So those are called user stories, right? The name user is more general, but you don't have to make stories from the perspective of a user. It could be from your perspective. Like, as a developer, I want to create a GitHub repository. As a developer, I want to set up my Firebase database. Why? So that I can store some data in it, right? That's the task. Okay. So these user stories are going to be created, and I would highly recommend you guys as a team spend just 2 hours on it, right? Sit down together. If you have a day, sit down together, just time box it. Okay, 2 hours, sit down and break your project down into user stories following that template. Okay, and then I'm going to show you that how you can assign this between different team members, and this is how you would be able to keep track what work is being done, who is doing it, and how much time will it take to complete. Okay, your task or your user story should be small enough that can be completed at most in a day. Okay, if you think your user story is going to take more than a day, then it's too big. It has to be broken down into a smaller piece. Let's suppose if I'm creating the search page, right? I have input box where somebody is going to type something and a button, right? I'm in my initial HTML. It's going to take me, let's suppose, more than a day to complete this task, right? So what do? We break it down into this. So this would be one task. Just create an input box, okay? And the second task could be create a search button, okay? So as a team, always think smaller tasks that can be completed in at most a day. I would say few hours. And the reason I'm saying is few hours is because the timeline is small for you guys. It's like 2 weeks, the project is done, right? Usually it depends on how big the project is and how much time it is. But for you guys, since you are doing an MVP, a smaller project, you cannot take 2 days to complete a task, right? If it is taking you 2 days, the task is too big, all right? You can break it down into smaller chunks. What would happen is you would be able to complete small tasks, and then you will feel more accomplished, and there will be something that you can see. Okay, so user stories, these are a great way to keep track of those tasks and showcase everybody on the team what needs to be done. Okay, any questions? Okay, again, this is a term used industry-wide. User stories, you will hear. Every morning I go to office and then I pick a user story, I work on it. Every day there's a meeting in the morning, and I'll go through that meeting as well, what happens. But you pick a user story, and user stories are defined in this way, right? And then I write code to accomplish that user story. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's take 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe see if you guys can come up with maybe like 3 to 5 user story or tasks. Okay. If you have, break it down by page. Okay, this is my project. This is my first page. What do I need to do in my first page? I need to make an input box. Doesn't matter. I want to accomplish this page. Okay, maybe you guys are using Firebase. Firebase setup. Make sure everybody has access to it. That could be one user story. Designing the page if you guys are designing it. Okay. Research can also be a user story. For example, for the backend team, I want to, as a developer or as a backend team member, pick persona, it doesn't matter. I want to research this API. Why? So that my team can use those data from that API. Okay, and the reason is because you need to make sure that the API is working. If it doesn't work, so that you can move on to the next one. So that could be one task. I think that's a really important task as well. Everybody should have the user story that, as a developer, I want to research into this particular API and to make sure that it actually works for us. Okay, so let's take 5 or 10 minutes again. See if you can come up with 3 to 5 user stories. Okay, couple of user stories we have already accomplished, but you can still add it. For example, as a developer, I want to create a GitHub repository so that my team can be contributing to it, right? That could be user story. Write it down. That's already done, but write it down. Okay. As a developer, I want to create project proposal so that I can represent what my idea for the project is. That could be one user story which is already done, but write it down. And then I'll show you how to put it physically on the board so that you guys can see how it's working. Okay, so see if you can come up with 3 to 5 user stories. And then I'll show you where to put them on GitHub.
Once you accept that. US, it should stick up to and then you can pull one of the fountains out of it. Well, you're yeah, I gotta play the part. So for you just gotta get the guard out of town. As long as I find this like David what we want to do, so first we get this in find the band. Yeah. Find out how to fit and then that's listen to the music from that band. Well, that could be our last one. Yeah, so as a user, I want to be able to search for upcoming content for the band. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about it.
All right. So let's suppose now you have some user stories, at least 3 or 5. How do you move them to your GitHub? Okay. On your GitHub for the project, this is I'm on the one that I created on Saturday. You will see a tab over here called Issues. Right. This is what we use for user stories. Now, don't go by the name. It kind of they call it issues, but it's not necessary that there are issues in your project. It can be used in different ways. Okay, in our project, we are going to use to copy over those user stories into this tab. Okay, now and this should be in your GitLab. So I'm just going to copy the template. All right. So what do you do is the first thing is you would say new issue. Okay, and then you're going to update this with the story. So let's suppose what I like to do is I try to keep a count of the tasks that are assigned to the project. So I would, for example, I would say let's suppose my project name, so project task 1. Let's put this in my project. Okay, again, the title could be anything you want that makes sense to you. Usually you will see that these usually have some kind of numbers. Basically, they tell how many user stories there are, right? If I'm creating the first one, this is my project name, this is my task, and then you can add what this user story does. Okay, for example, I'm going to create a user story for my setting up my GitHub repo. So set up GitHub repo. Okay, but this is a title. You can name anything you want. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now we are going to follow the same template. So I'm going to copy this. Do this. Put a heading. These 2 hashes, you can use these from over here. The markdowns, if you look at the preview, kind of makes it bold. That's all it does. Okay. So I'm going to say this time my persona is going to be developer. So as a developer, I want to create a GitHub repository so that my team can contribute to it. Okay. All right. So I created one user story. Now every user story has a second part, and it's called, let me make it bigger. It's called acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria. What does acceptance criteria means? How would you determine that this work has been completed? Okay, the steps that are required to make sure that this user story is completed, that's what you put in your acceptance criteria. For example, how would I say that I have created a GitHub repository and my team is able to contribute, right? We'll use the template like this. This creates like a checkbox. You can use this one over here. So like this, I click this, it adds a checkbox. So how would I see? My acceptance criteria could be GitHub. I can access or view the repository on github.com. Okay, if I'm able to do that, this means I have created the repository. That's acceptance criteria. What else? My, or you can say all team members have access to the repo. Okay, this means I have added everybody as a contributing member. All right, another acceptance criteria could be all team members are able to clone the repository. Right, if I was not a member, I would not be able to clone the repository. So this kind of assures that the GitHub repository is created and my team can contribute to it. Okay, so these would be acceptance criteria. Now if you go into your preview, kind of shows up like this. And when these tasks are completed, we're going to check mark these off. Okay, so what you do is you then do a submit. Let me copy this so that I can kind of use the same template. Submit issue. Okay, now if you go to your issues tab, you will see one issue created. All right, let's go ahead and let me create a second one. And then this time I'm going to label it 2 because that's my second task. This time I'll create a user story from the perspective of the user. Post pictures. Okay, so we'll create a same template, user story. As a user, I want to let's say post pictures so that others can view them. Okay, what's going to be the acceptance criteria? Let's see. Able to upload pictures successfully. Okay. Second one could be able to view pictures successfully. Okay. Pictures are saved to data store successfully. Okay, some identifying some list that can assure you that your task has been completed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create. Let's suppose these are my 2 tasks. Okay, so generally that's what I was saying, that as a team at some point sit together for 1 hour or 2 hour and create all these tasks. Okay, so that you will have like almost like 15-20 tasks and you will know what to do with your app. Okay, it's a really good way that helps visualize and see what are the tasks that have to be completed. Okay, now the last part second last that I'm going to show you is how do you see these tasks, how do you assign it to people on your team, and how can you see who's working on what. Okay, so in GitHub we are going to create a project, but on a high level this board is called Kanban. Okay, you might have heard it, might not. It's called some people call it Kanban, depends on where you are from. It's actually a Japanese term, and it comes from Toyota, the company. They are the ones who created this Kanban board or Kanban board. What it does is it helps you visualize the tasks that are pending, that are in progress, and that have been completed. That's what this board tells you. Okay, so in GitHub, if you go into your projects tab and then say create a project, this is actually creating a project board, right? This is a Kanban board. Let's say whatever your project is, and let's say Instagram project. Okay, on the template you're going to select automated Kanban. Okay, and you will see what happens when you select this. Okay, so I'm going to select this and then create a project. Now this is again in your project repository that you created. We created 2 issues. Now we are switching over to the projects tab. Okay, now when you come to this projects tab, you will see 3 lanes. We call them columns or lanes or swim lanes, right? These are called also swim lanes. Some companies you will hear the word swim lanes. Basically, it's a lane, you know, like in a swimming competition, you have those lanes over there. That's why they call it swim lanes. Okay, so let me go ahead and remove these. You can delete these notes. Don't need these, and we are going to add our own thing. No. Delete column. Delete. All right. So there are, by default, you will see these 3 columns or lanes, right? The first one says to do. Okay. And in some situations, this is also called backlog. Or backlog. Generally, that's what we call it. Okay. The first column indicates the task that needs to be worked on. Nobody is working on these tasks. All the tasks that are over here means that at some point these needs to be worked. Once you sit down with your team and come up with user stories, this is the first stage where your user stories are going to reside. Okay. Let's go back here. If you say add cards and then just drag drop your user stories into this column. Okay. The first column is called to do or backlog. All right. So this will tell you, let's suppose you have like 15 to-dos or 15 items in your backlog. This is going to say, okay, this is our project and these are the tasks that need to be done at some point. Okay. The second column is in progress, right? These tasks over here are eventually going to move into in progress, right? Hopefully, right? Somebody is going to work on these. All right. Before that, let's suppose in my team, we decided Chester and Ethan are on my project, right? They are added to this GitHub repo. I'm going to click this task. And then you will see assignees. Okay, as a team, generally speaking, we work this as a team from the concept perspective, but usually it's the responsibility of the team lead to kind of maintain this project board and make sure all the issues are assigned to somebody. So as a team, let's suppose I'm the team lead and I'm going to say, okay, this Chester said, okay, I'm going to pick this task and I'm going to complete it. So I'm going to assign it to Chester. That's it. Click. If you click outside, you will see this has been assigned to him. Okay. Next task, Ethan is interested in completed this task, and then I'm going to assign this to Ethan. Okay. And this is how you are going to assign your task. All right. I'm the team lead. I'm going to chill out and I'm going to assign these tasks to these guys. All right. Okay. So this is how you assign the task now. Now these guys are going to go as a team. We're going to work as soon as somebody is working on that task. The responsibility of that person is to move this card into in progress. Okay. So right now if you come as a team, anybody in the team and the team lead can come to this board over here and kind of see, oh, today is day 5 of this project. Let me go ahead and see what's going on with the task are, how much has been completed. Okay. Again, this is only good if everybody is following it. Everybody on the team has to have a buy-in. Everybody has to be doing this because Chester might be working on it or must have completed it, but his task still shows me as to do. So I don't know if somebody's working on it or not, what's going on. Okay? So let's suppose he works on it and at some point he said, okay, I'm done. All right? So you move it to done. You click on it and let's look at our acceptance. Okay? The tester said, okay, I did this also, and I completed this task as well. Okay? Let's go back and complete this. So now either you can close this task or leave it over here. It's up to you guys. Usually you will see that people will go ahead and close also. I like to keep it over here in the done so that it visualize as soon. I think if you close it, it kind of disappears from here because they say, okay, you're done with the task. Everything is good. What I prefer is we have an acceptance criteria with those nice check boxes. Check those and then just put it in your done list so that you can see what has been completed. Okay, now see if you have like 15 tasks, all of them are going to be here. At most, with your team size, there should be 4 cards that should be in progress, right? There are 4 people, so everybody should be working on a single user story. So in this in progress, you should see 4 tasks at any given point, right? As soon as the task is done, Chester goes over here and sees there are some unassigned tasks over here. He goes ahead and picks it, assigns them to him, and then moves it to in progress. Okay? Now the benefit of this, I hope you guys see it, that it gives a visualization and it's transparent to everybody on the team. They can see what's going on, what needs to be done, who's working on what, and what has been completed. Okay? All right, questions? Now, or at least do you guys use a different tool at your place?
Where I work right now, our process is a mess, but I work with
Okay. What about you, Josh? Do you guys use different? Oh, who said Jira? Okay. So there are a couple of different softwares. This one is a free. It comes from GitHub. There are different tools that you will hear. Yes.
I think actually we use Confluence.
Confluence. Confluence is one of them. Jira. Arena was mentioning. Trello is a free and more popular one. So a lot of people. I see Brooke nodding. So people use Trello. So these are some of the products. Trello is super famous and it's free also. A lot of people, even my previous cohort, people with project management background, they instead of using GitHub, they use Trello. Those are so widely used that you will hear people, especially engineers, that they actually use their daily life as a project board. Oh, these are the tasks that I need to do. Oh, these are in progress, and this is I have completed. Right? I have a different checklist. I don't use a Trello board, but I still have that checklist. And my wife said, "How do you remember all those stuff?" I'm like, "Well, I have a checklist where I actually write everything down." So again, it's a really good tool. I hope you guys see the benefit. It's going to help you guys greatly in your project. If you feel you're lost or you don't know what's going on, or you don't, as a team lead, you're like, well, I don't know what my team is working on, not sure. This is a good way to do it. It only takes a couple of hours sit together as a team. You just have to spend maybe like 1 or 2 hours, come up with this, and then start working. Yes, Josh.
Can someone who's not a collaborator see all the projects and
I'm not sure. You can Slack me out your link and see if it shows up. They might be able to see it, but they won't be able to modify it unless you're a contributor. Yeah. Why do you Are you afraid somebody is going to come and mess up your task?
Oh no,
Yeah, I think it's if it's a public repository, you should be able to see it. I'm not sure, or you can look at this one and see if you guys can see this task or not. Okay, good question. Any other questions? All right, again, this is not mandatory. I wish people would use it because at the end of the projects I hear, oh, I don't know what's going on. This is one of the big tools, good tools that will help your team. Okay, now one last thing and then everything is project. Now, the last thing you will hear is ceremonies, right? What are those? One of the project management tool and everything, we have something called daily stand-up. Happens in almost every company I have worked. Well, no, every single company I have worked. It's a really it's kind of embedded in companies for software engineering these days. Okay, the it's a meeting. It's a really short meeting which runs like 15 minutes. That's all. Okay, it happens every single day, every single morning, without fail, whether anybody shows up or not. But it has to happen. Okay, it's called daily stand up. What happens in that meeting is, and I every company I work, it happens currently. Um, it happens between 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30, doesn't matter. As a team, you decide a time. Could be in the evening, doesn't matter. Okay. At my company, we have our meetings at 9 o'clock, and it goes until hard stop at 9:15. Stand-ups are supposed to be 15 minutes and not longer than that. If it goes longer, then you're missing the point. Okay. As the name says, daily stand-up. Everybody in the team stands for that meeting and they answered 3 questions. That's it. 3 questions and that's all. What did I do yesterday? What am I going to do today? Do I have any roadblocks? Again, when I was new to this ceremony, I thought it was like a status meeting or my manager is there. That's not what this meeting is, right? This meeting is for the team so that the team knows what is going on, what that person is working on, or what am I working on, especially the last part. Do I have any roadblocks? Be honest about it. I'm working. So, for example, if I'm working on this task today, so I'm going to say, well, yesterday I worked on my GitHub repository, set it up, and everything is good. Today, I'm going to pick up a task from my to-do. I'm going to start working on that. Are there any roadblocks? Yeah, I was looking at that API. I spent these many hours, but I can't figure out, so it's a roadblock. I need help. Okay. Now, you don't jump into help at that point. We go to the next person. The next person answered the same question, then the next, then the next. And your meeting gets over in like 5 or 10 minutes. That's it. What did you do yesterday? Today? Are there any roadblocks? Now, at the end of the meeting, when everybody is done, then we come back to our roadblocks. Usually, it's better to write it on a whiteboard if there are any roadblocks. When the meeting is over, only the people who think they can help with that roadblock stay in the meeting. Everybody can leave. Okay, saves time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes over, and everybody can go back to doing their task. All right. If you're working when you're working on this industry, I don't think you will run into any company who doesn't do that. It's a really popular one. They follow these things, and daily stand-up is one of those things that kind of tells the team what everybody's working on. Okay, again, it's not a status meeting. It's just to be transparent what's going on. All right. So daily stand-up, 15 minutes. I would recommend try to see as a team lead if you can convince your team to have these every day. And it doesn't have to be in person. You can do it on Slack, right? Maybe you have a Slack channel for your project. Every morning at 9 o'clock or in the afternoon or in the evening, it doesn't matter. Set a time and everybody post the answer to these 3 questions. Yesterday I worked on this. Today I'm going to work on this. Do I have any roadblocks? Yes or no, and then mention a roadblock. That's it. Okay? Let's do this. Let's practice it right now. Everybody in a group stand up, answer these 3 questions. At most, it's going to take you like 5 or 6 minutes. Okay? Stand up. Start with the team lead. Make sure that everybody is answering these 3 questions are within the time limit. No big description. Just tell me what you did yesterday, today, any roadblocks. Okay? So as a group, let's stand up, do this. If you're done, and then sit down. Super fast, super quick.
Worked on the video background. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Yes, yes. As soon as it just give me like 2 more minutes and it's done. Yeah.
So is it actually taking you have start time with so it's like basically you have to be first time.
All right. Looks like all the groups are done. Just last thing. That's all for today. I don't have anything. And again, I have pushed everything. These activities, you can take a look at these. The ones that I went through, they have the templates. If you guys are interested in using it, it's really helpful. It took me some time to actually see the worth of it. Early in my career, I thought these were waste of time. I was like, it doesn't work, but they actually do work. All right. Funny story that our when I was at Walmart at one team, we used to have our daily stand-ups, and they used to go from 30 minutes to 1 hour, right? And they used to turn into these intense discussion meetings. And I went to every company usually has an agile coach, and they are the ones who kind of help you out and figure out how the team is working. And I said, our daily stand-ups actually take 30 minutes to 1 hour. And he only asked me one question. He said, do you conduct those meetings sitting down or standing up? I was like, everybody is sitting down. He was saying, just go there, and the next time you conduct your daily stand-up meeting, tell everybody to stand up. I'm not kidding. In 10 minutes, we were done with those meetings. Nobody likes to stand up and talk more. And they were like, all right, we need to sit down. So that's why it's called daily stand-up, and literally everybody stands up and it goes a lot faster. Okay. All right. I hope everybody got something out of it, and you will incorporate this in your projects. Rest of the time, work on your projects. You can be here, outside, doesn't matter. You're all adults and professional. I trust you guys. So downstairs there are rooms. You can sit in the class, pick a room, up to you guys. All right. We'll be here. Please let us know if you need help with your project, understanding, solving something, and we'll be here.
How did you add those issues in